According to brand new data, it appears that Donald Trump is surging in the critical swing state of Wisconsin. What is up, people of the internet? It is me, Real American, back in with a new video, and today we have to talk about the 2024 presidential election because it appears that Donald Trump is surging in the critical swing state of Wisconsin. Yeah, that's right. Despite what some Democrats may claim about the current state of the race, they are in deep trouble in Wisconsin. Now, I'm not saying that Trump's gonna win Wisconsin by 15 points or it's a foregone conclusion he wins, but as of now, it is looking real bad for Harris. Look at this. On the RCP average right now, it is Trump plus 0.1. In other words, it's a tied race. Which, when you think about it, it doesn't seem like that's a big deal. Like, oh, Trump's barely winning on the RCP average, but it's really a tied race. Why is this a big deal? How is this a surge? Simply put, Wisconsin polling, of all the swing states, you could argue, actually, it's not an argument, it's a fact. Back in 2016 and 2020, Wisconsin polling by far was the worst state polling of any swing state. People just forget about this every year, but Wisconsin polling is absolutely trash. Back in 2020, in roughly the same time period, the middle of October, it was Biden plus 6, Biden plus 6, plus 7, plus 7, plus 6, and then it became Biden plus 5. But at the very end, the RCP average on the final day was Biden plus 7. 2016, it was just as bad. In the middle of October, Clinton plus 6, plus 6, plus 7. In other words, Wisconsin polling, especially in presidential years, sucks. And every time, these same polls, they overstate Democrat support by a lot, while understating Trump support every year. Both times he's ran, in Wisconsin especially, the polls dramatically understated him by 6 to 7 points. Now, I am not saying that Trump is going to win Wisconsin by 7 points. I am not saying that at all. But these are the same polls right now that show Trump with a small lead. And you look at who's actually showing Trump with a lead, it's Rasmussen, it's Trafalgar, hell, Quinnipiac. Quinnipiac found Trump plus 2. The only pollsters right now on the RCP average that found Harris winning was Cook Political Report and the New York Times. But even then, the New York Times and the Cook Political Report, those polls were from like a month ago. The polls have Trump winning or at least a tied race. They've been in the last week. Rasmussen was just a couple days ago. Insider Advantage just a week ago. Even Quinnipiac was like 2 weeks ago. And those New York Times and the Cook Political Reports, they were in late September. And it's clear as day that the past couple of weeks, there has been a consistent trend towards Trump. And for those that don't believe me, even look at Rasmussen. In the middle of August, it was roughly Harris plus 1 in Wisconsin. In September, it was a tied race. Now, Trump plus 2. You go to Insider Advantage. In September, it was Harris plus 2. Now it's a tied race. Even Quinnipiac, they found a 3-point shift since September. What does this tell you? It tells you that there's a consistent trend in nearly every poll towards Trump. It's not just one poll that found a small shift towards Trump. It's Quinnipiac, it's Insider Advantage, it's Rasmussen. Hell, the New York Times. Remember, they're Harris plus 2. Their poll in the middle of August was Harris plus 4. It's a consistent trend towards Trump of roughly 2 to 3 points in nearly every single poll. I mean, every poll you look at, you're finding the same deal. The only one that shifted against Trump was Emerson. But that's a 1-point shift. Who cares? That's statistical noise. Every other poll that's been tracking Wisconsin for about a month or so, they're finding the same shift. A 2 to 3 point swing towards Trump in Wisconsin. And again, this is assuming the polls are 100% correct, which more than likely they're not going to be. In the state of Wisconsin especially, there's a good chance we see a huge polling miss in favor of Trump, like we did back in 2020, like we did back in 2016. And even if it's a 2-point shift, hell, there doesn't have to be a single polling miss. Right now, Trump is leading on the RCP average. If there's a 1-point miss, Trump's winning by a point. The only way for Harris to win Wisconsin right now, according to the RCP average, is if the polls overstate Trump. Which, like I said, it has not happened in a presidential year. 2020, it was off by 6 points in favor of Biden. Clinton was Clinton plus 6 when she lost by a point. Wisconsin polling every year understates Republican support, especially in presidential years. And for those that are saying, but 2022, the polls overstated Ron Johnson and Tim Michels. Guess what? A midterm is not a presidential year. The polling in Wisconsin back in 2018 wasn't that bad. But we all know what happened in 2020. The polls sucked. They were off by 7 points. This is not good for Harris at all, because Wisconsin is one of those states where you will probably see a big polling miss in favor of Trump. More than likely. I'm not saying it's going to be a 5-point miss, but even a 2-point miss. And you're talking about Trump plus 2. I mean, is that crazy to say there might be a 2-point miss in favor of Trump? I don't think it's crazy to say that. Especially when you factor in 2020, 2016. Wisconsin can have big polling misses because none of these pollsters know how the hell to poll Wisconsin properly. Because guess what? That's Wisconsin. It's a very rural state. People make it sound like that Wisconsin is nothing but Madison and Milwaukee. Guess what? Madison and Milwaukee, they make up like 20% of the vote, and that's it. People really make it sound like Wisconsin's like 80% Milwaukee and Madison. It's not. That's why these same polls every year, they get it wrong, like they did in 2016, like they did in 2020. And there's a good chance they're wrong yet again. But guess what? There are other polls out there that show the same thing. Look at Morning Consult. Yes, the same Morning Consult that just a month ago, they were finding Harris plus 6. Right now, they found Trump plus 1 in Wisconsin. That's a 7-point shift in just 1 month. Now, Morning Consult's a very shitty pollster. They can have big misses, but even when Morning Consult is showing a big shift towards Trump, that's a big deal. Because just like nearly every other pollster, everyone's showing the same trend. The polls are shifting towards Trump in Wisconsin. Hell, RMG Research, same deal. Their prior poll was Harris plus 1. Now, it's Trump plus 1. Yet another poll with a 2-point shift towards Trump in Wisconsin. And these polls right now are not on the RCP average. So more than likely, there's a good chance that Trump's lead in RCP would be closer to a 1-point lead. Especially when you factor the clear outliers in Cook Political Report and the New York Times. I mean, seriously, Harris plus 2. Which, to be fair to them, that was a month ago, I get it, but at some point, some of these polls gotta get kicked out of the average, especially when you have brand new polls like RMG, like Morning Consult even. I mean, for crying out loud, Morning Consult found Trump leading Wisconsin. What does that tell you? It tells you he's in a great position to flip Wisconsin. And if the polls are really off by even 2 points, which is nothing, especially compared to 2020 and 2016, if we see a 2-point polling miss in favor of Trump, that's Trump plus 2. And at that point, he is winning a state like Pennsylvania by like 2 points. Same thing with Michigan. He's probably winning that state as well. That's more than enough for Trump to win. That's why it's a big deal for the RCP average, not just to show a close race, but to show Trump with a lead. And I know it's by 0.1%, that's effectively a tied race, but compare that to 2020. Never in October did Trump ever lead. Hell, back in 2020, you have to go back to all the way in March of 2020 to find Trump with a small lead, a 1-point lead. 2016, it was even worse. He never led. Yet right now, for the first time ever in October, Trump is winning Wisconsin. And that's assuming there's no polling miss. That's assuming the polls are all perfect, there's no problems with the polls, they're going to be 100% spot on, which I don't think they will be. I have a gut feeling that even if it's a 1 or 2 point miss, that's statistical noise, but a lot of these same polls, they have no clue how the hell to poll Wisconsin. except for low turnout midterms. That's the only time Wisconsin polling tends to be a bit more accurate. Hell, in 2022, it actually overstated Republican support by a couple points. But that's a midterm. That's not a presidential year. That's a problem Democrats have. They have to bank on the polls to actually be off in favor of them. Not, oh, Republicans need a 5-point polling miss to win Wisconsin. No, they don't need a polling miss. They need the polls to actually be accurate, and they win Wisconsin. It's Democrats who need to bank on the polls actually overstating Trump for the first time ever. Is it possible? I guess. But 2020 and 2016, they suggested there's no way the polls are going to overstate Trump. No way. Is it possible the polls are more accurate? Maybe. Maybe instead of being off by 6 or 7, they're off by 2. But even then, that's a Trump win. That's a Trump +2 in Wisconsin. That's more than enough for him to win Wisconsin and win Michigan, win Pennsylvania, win North Carolina, win Georgia, win Arizona. AKA, more than enough to win the presidency. This is not good for Harris at all. It's not just, oh, the polls are like Harris +1, which is not the best news for her because back in 2020 it was Biden +6. No, it's the fact that she is currently down. She is losing to Trump, according to the RCP average. But fine, I guess it's entirely possible that the polls overstate Democrat support for the first time in a very long time, especially in a presidential year. I guess that's possible. I mean, is it likely? No. But I guess there's a possibility that maybe the far-right polls like Trafalgar, maybe they're overstating Trump by a lot. Even though Trafalgar was one of the most accurate pollsters in Wisconsin, fine, I guess that's a possibility that the polls by some miracle are going to overstate Trump's support in Wisconsin. Even though it didn't happen back in 2020 or 2016. But even if by some miracle that's actually true, Democrats have a big problem in Wisconsin. And it's not just the polling. I mean, the polls look real bad for them, especially compared to 2020 or 2016. We have early voting in Wisconsin right now, and it looks real bad for Democrats. Now, I should clarify that when it comes to Wisconsin, early voting can be misleading, especially when we don't have voter registration. We don't know if these people are Republicans or Democrats. But we do have county-by-county returns. That means we have a good idea roughly who these people are. We have a good idea as to if these voters lean towards Trump or lean towards Harris. And right now, it doesn't look good for Democrats at all. Look at some of these numbers. Waukesha County, you know, the biggest Republican county in the state, they've seen a 66% increase in ballot returns. Dane County, you know, the county that everyone makes a big deal about, they've only seen a 32% increase in ballot returns compared to 2022. Brown County, a 40% increase. You know, that's Green Bay. Milwaukee, not even a 25% increase. But look at Washington County. This is by far the most Republican-friendly county of the WOW counties. Waukesha, Ozaukee, and Washington. This is the most Trumpy of them all. One of the most Republican parts of the state. They saw an 87% increase in ballot returns. 87%, not 8%, not 7%, an 87% increase in Washington County. By far one of the most Trumpy parts of Wisconsin. And they're seeing the biggest increase, or one of the biggest increase, in ballot returns. That means the Republican parts of the state, they are voting early. They are returning their ballots at huge amounts. They're not just sitting back and doing nothing. No, we are seeing a big increase in ballot returns in Waukesha, in Brown, in Washington, Republican parts of Wisconsin. And of course, Dane and Milwaukee, they've gone up, but percentage-wise, not compared to Brown, Washington, or Waukesha. Hell, raw votes-wise, Waukesha County had the biggest increase in ballot returns, 10,000. Dane County didn't even crack 10,000 votes. This is a big deal because it tells you that while we don't know for sure who these people are because, you know, we don't have voter registration, if a voter from Washington County is voting, there's a good chance that voter is a Trump voter. That's a very Republican county. Waukesha County, same deal. Even Dane County. If someone's voting, more than likely they are a Democrat. But the fact that the biggest increases are in Washington, Brown, Waukesha, that's a big deal. Republicans are getting out and voting by a large amount, not just a 1% increase. No, it's a huge increase in ballot returns, way more percentage-wise than the Democrat parts of Wisconsin. Now, does this mean Trump's going to win Wisconsin by 50 points? No. Early voting can be misleading, especially when we don't have voter registration. But come on. If Washington County is having a huge surge of early voting, who do you think these people are voting for? This is not Madison, Wisconsin. This is Washington County. This is one of the most Republican parts of Wisconsin. Do you really think this magical surge in turnout's Democrats? When they are having disastrous turnout in Milwaukee and Dane, especially compared to Waukesha, Brown, Washington, etc. This is real bad for Democrats, and I'm not saying this is for sure meaning Trump's gonna win Wisconsin, but when you factor in the polling right now, it's not looking good for Harris whatsoever. But anyways, folks, thank you so much for watching. If you guys did enjoy this video, smash the like button down below, subscribe, share with your friends, hit that little bell, follow the social media accounts in the description down below, and of course, join the channel today. Godspeed to all of you.